Hey everyone, it's Sarah, the elder millennial.
And this is Bill, the infant boomer. Welcome to Strengths on Fire, the podcast for strengths enthusiasts who want to have fun while leveling up.
Get ready for a mix of powerful insights, unexpected stories, and plenty of laughs along the way. Hey Bill, you want to light these strengths on fire?
Sarah, let's light it up!
Mr. Bill Dippel, how you doing today?
I'm super good. Super good. Having a great, having a great week. Good things coming up. It's going to be a fun weekend. So Super Bowl parties.
That's right. We're on the cusp of seeing the Chiefs win their third Super Bowl.
I can't wait for Philadelphia to tear down those Chiefs. It's just going to be great.
Red Kingdom.
Listen,
this is a Taylor Swift podcast. You should be all about the Chiefs, baby.
That's totally true. You know what? And I have promised we're going to get her to do our bumper. So
right.
Go Chiefs. I got it. Now I'm in. So
now you're in. There we go.
Well, if she agrees to do it, I'll be an all Chiefs in.
Right. So you're a Philadelphia's fan again.
I don't really have a dog in I don't have a dog in the fight. So I'm just kind of hanging out and watching.
Well, I'm just so happy because I became a Chiefs fan before they got really good, just because they are one of the closest teams to us. You know, Nebraska doesn't have a pro team. And when I was growing up, I was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan because my dad and my cousin were Steelers fans. So I was pretty legit into the Steelers. And then I, of course, just lost track of football, did not care.
Yeah.
And for a wedding, one of our friends took us to a Chiefs game as a wedding present because they couldn't come to our destination wedding.
Nice.
And it was my first professional game and I loved it. And I was like, oh my God, I should be a Chiefs fan. They're so close to us. This is so fun. I love them. And then all of a sudden they started being good. So it was really good timing. And then the Taylor of it all. So, the world wants me to love the Chiefs. And you know what, world? You can have what you want. I do.
So you're a Nepo Chiefs fan. Or a Nepo Pittsburgh fan, and then it turned into a Nepo. Sorry, sure.
Yes.
My grandfather was a huge San Francisco Giants fan, so I'm a Giants fan. Was also a 49er fan, so I'm a 49er fan. Both of those are painful legacies for me. But he didn't watch basketball, so when I moved to LA and lived there for a while, I was a Laker fan.
There you go.
But I also get what you're saying. I used to go to spring training baseball a lot. And we would always go to Arizona for Cactus Ball, and the Coyotes play in Arizona proper. So we would always go to a Coyotes game. So I'm a huge Coyotes fan just because
proximity.
I've been there. I've seen it, right? I've gone. So I get your Kansas City original.
It's interesting to think about how people become sports fans. I do think there's a lot of nepotism, just the same, not to get into it, but politics and religion. A lot of that. You just do what your parents do, you know? I don't know. We grew up as Husker fans.
Yeah.
And it's been painful to be a Husker fan, but I will continue to persist.
Yes.
To just I don't even have a good segue for this.
You can't even segue this one, can you?
I don't have a good segue.
I don't know how you do it. Yeah.
Here's my question for you.
I'm ready. I am ready.
If you could make one new law that everyone in the world had to follow, what would it be?
Be nice.
Oh, yeah, me too. Okay, that was so easy. Same.
Nice. Stop being a jerk, right? Or however you'd want to. I don't know. I don't get political. We don't bring all of that up. It's just there's so much of my way is right and your way is wrong. So maybe the rule might be to actually listen, to instead of just assume what I think is the correct way to do it. The new law is in any time you must think from a debate point of view and actually listen to what it is and take it in as a possibility. That's all. So yeah. How about you?
Wow, that's so good. Well, I love that. I want to echo that. I think I would, I tell the children all the time, hurt people. And sometimes they are the hurt people that hurt each other, and we point that out. And so I love the idea of being nice.
Really good point. I like that hurt people. Yeah.
But if I had to make a law, I think it would be that everyone got fair and equitable education, because I think one of the, not to get political, but I think one of the major issues in our world is that there is not good education and role models for all of the people in the world. And I think that if we could remove the barriers to fair and equitable education and mentorship, that we would solve a lot of our problems. So nobody knew I was coming in deep and
Wow.
thick with that one, but there you
Sarah
go.
came in hot today. Sarah, and because you knew your question, I think
I did
that's
not prep it. I just want you
oh
to know I literally right
yeah,
before we got on
I
thought, oh
know.
my gosh, I might have to ask a question. I pulled a random one from my
Me
list.
too, and I have a little list that I looked at right before we chose who gets to ask. So yeah, I don't always know either, but that's also really. It's funny. I think if you looked at our two new laws together, they're very similar in what they're
Absolutely.
attempting to do. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Just want to spread some joy and kindness throughout this world,
I love it.
which I think our guest today is a beacon of joy and kindness. And I know
Yes.
this because today we have on Alex Phillips. Now, this is a really interesting guest for us because she kind of checks every box that we could have on this podcast as guests go. Alex, I met with through Remble Lucky. We had Tara Paulson on. She was she's the managing partner of Rembolt, and Alex worked there when I started coaching the firm. And she was in, what was your initial role?
Well, I was with Rimble Ludke for 8.5 years. I started as a legal executive assistant. When you came in, I was a paralegal doing personal injury and domestic law, like family law.
Yes. Okay. So Tara had talked to me and said, we love Alex. She's everything we want. She's the type of worker we want. She's a great culture fit, but we know she's not happy in her role. Alex, if I'm getting any of this wrong, you just jump in. She said, can you do some career coaching with her? If it ends up we have a role here at the firm for her, we want to keep her. We want to find the right seat on the bus for her. But if it ends up that she needs to go somewhere else, then that's fine. We love her so much that we want to help her. So they invested in coaching. And I think we did 3 months of coaching. Is that right?
That sounds right. Yep.
Yes. So as a career coach in my former life, we used Clifton Strengths and we went through sort of this loose curriculum career coaching together. And so not only did I get to work with Alex in the bigger Clifton Strengths development of the firm, but her and I got to do one-on-one career coaching. Now, what is really exciting, and Alex, I'm going to have you share this part, tell the audience, what did we figure out through the career coaching?
Well, the way I remember it is when you came in, I was so in awe of you and what you were doing that I was, the first time we sat down, this is going to be like a little love fest. The first time we sat down, I was like, how do I do what you do? And we worked together kind of off of that idea to find a spot that still worked within Rimble Ludke. And part of that was going to become a Gallup Global Certified Strengths Coach. And from there, I moved into a new role. I was the director of engagement. And part of that was a little bit of marketing work because the firm had a need in that space. But the biggest piece that I really cared about was strengths coaching and that little bit of HR work where we're developing people, we're coaching people, and we're just, helping our team within Rimbold.
Yes, and I really need to give you credit here because you didn't just assume a new role. You pitched this role. This was a role that did not exist at the firm prior to you coming in. They were hiring me as an outside consultant, and you, through the coaching work, figuring out your skills, your interests, your values, doing deep dives into your strengths, you realized you had this knack for marketing, HR, and specifically carrying the torch of the Clifton strengths. So in some ways, you stole my job.
Ooh,
Woo,
ouch.
no, but
Oh,
in the
no.
best possible way. This is what we want. This is what we want as outside coaches, right? If an organization is going to really become a strengths-based culture, it has to come from internal. I can be the spark, but you have to carry the torch. And that's really what you did. You were able to pitch this new thing. And I just have to tell you, Alex created a slide deck to pitch this new position. And I was so proud when she sent it to me to review. I was like, yes, 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 this is everything. She created this slide deck, pitched this director of engagement role. They accepted it. She was able to get certified as a Clifton Strengths coach and do this whole new position that the firm was needing but hadn't had up until that point. And then
Bravo.
really, yes, it was
Thank
very
you.
exciting. This is exactly what we want to see when we're working with clients. We want to see this. And now what's so exciting is this has been a few years ago, so Alex has moved into a new role. Tell us about your new role.
Yeah, so now I am working as an HR generalist at Commonwealth Electric. But the biggest pieces of my role, it's like this role was built for me, I'm telling you. So I manage our internship program. And part of that program, we get to utilize Clifton Strengths. So I get to do Clifton Strengths coaching. I'm facilitating and leading large group sessions. We are, doing lots of training around strengths. And I also am kind of a coordinator and facilitator of our mentorship program here, which has a couple components, one of which is our leadership development program. We primarily utilize that for succession planning needs, but anytime we identify some of our employee owners who have, high potential, good leadership skills, we put them in this year-long program to develop them. And we utilize strengths coaching and we talk about strengths-based leadership. And so we're in the process of doing that now. Actually, on Tuesday, we have our first kind of introductory large group session for leadership development. But I know we have plans here at Commonwealth throughout this year to implement strengths more and more. And so we're a larger organization. Remote Led Key was about 60 to 65 people. We have just under 1,500 employees here at Commonwealth. So it's a bigger scale, right? And I would say maybe 250-ish are overhead office employees that will primarily be working with that strength stuff. But it's a larger scale for me. And so I'm really excited about all of the things happening here at Commonwealth.
Wow. I'm really curious about this because coming from that HR side and now moving and thinking, I want to do what you do from a coaching point of view, and now moving to a larger environment where you've got so many possibilities. So it's such a fruitful environment to have that many people to say, let's really build on this and get the energy going. Your number one theme is competition. I am just listening to it going, I don't know where competition plays in that. I don't know that it does. It may not. But can you highlight or tell us your top 10 really quickly and then touch on competition for a second? Because I'm really fascinated by this.
Yeah. So it's competition, harmony, relator, individualization, consistency, responsibility, futuristic, maximizer, belief, and discipline. So competition for me is a fun one. I think when I look at my competition and how it shows up for me, it can show up in the very stereotypical way of when I play a game, I want to win. I don't start anything with the intention to lose. So even Yahtzee, like game on, baby, let's go. So, but it shows up in so many other ways for me. I think it makes me quick to respond. I'm a very responsive person. It allows me to believe in my abilities. Sometimes I think it gives me a little bit of that self-assurance. I believe that I can do things. I believe in my leadership abilities. I think I'm very attuned to performance, right? And so it makes me good about recognizing others. And then when people recognize me, it's very sentimental to me. So if I get a nice email from leadership, I save it. I literally have a folder in my inbox where I drag and drop those things. And sometimes I revisit them because it rejuvenates me. But I am very type A, very perfectionist. I have high standards. I think, and this will show up when we talk about each one of my themes, but I can justify my joy for strength through almost every one of my themes. But it makes so much sense through my competition why I love Clifton Strengths and why I like utilizing it, because the more I understand about myself and my strengths, the more I can use them right and work from a place of strength and be in a good position to win. So for this organization and what I'm doing now, I think my competition shines because we're making things better here, right? Like we are an employee owned organization. And so we already have a lot of great things going for us in terms of how our employee ownership impacts our company and culture. Strengths only amplifies that. So we're just making it better all the time.
And you can hear her maximizer in there, can't you? That
Yeah.
maximizer competition feels like it like superpowers one another and they
Yeah.
just really are out there to win and
Yeah.
to do the best and to push forward that perfectionist type A. Ooh, with that responsibility, it sounds like that's a lot of yes, ma'am, yes, sir, I will do it. How do you balance that?
That's tricky because my responsibility shows up exactly like you think it would. If I tell you I'm going to do it, it's going to get done. But the thing about it is, I can sometimes be a people pleaser. I
Mm.
don't often say no. And so far, I manage my time well enough to where balls don't get dropped. I get stuff done, but I will say yes to something that I do not want to do. And
Little Harmony
yeah,
putting her little head in there saying,
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
"Oh,
I was
I
throwing
don't
that.
want to do that, but I guess I'll say yes."
Yeah.
yeah.
And I was going to say too, I heard the harmony and individualization when she was saying, when I get the upper brass telling me you're get that quantification that, hey, we did, you're doing that great, and the quality of work, that harmony individualization just goes,
Mhm.
oh,
Yeah.
yes, we are going in the, let's all keep paddling, where we're going. Oh, I love that take on that. That's really good. Yeah. And in that, I mean, for harmony individualization, because we started with competition, it's an influencing theme, and now we jump right into some relationship themes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you really feel the fuel from that relationship side? Do you, moving from a small team to 1,500, does the burden of having heavy relationship themes feel real to you, or does it just fuel and motivate you?
Think it fuels and motivates me. So even though we have such a large organization, I'm telling you, it doesn't feel like that. And I think, again, we're unique because we're employee owned. So everyone here has an ownership interest in the company, at least our overhead employees. And so that affects the way we communicate and collaborate. If can do anything to make our company more successful, you're free to do that. We don't have
Mhm.
that traditional hierarchy where it's like, you down here must keep your mouth shut. It's very collaborative. And I think harmony is an interesting one for me because I think on its face, people see that I lead with harmony and they assume that I'm conflict avoidant. But I work in HR. Conflict is inevitable, whether someone's upset with me, whether I'm kind of mediating a dispute between two people, whether I'm having a tough conversation with someone. I I think the way I approach it is that I would almost rather address conflict head on to get back to that place of harmony.
Yeah.
I start to have that anxious feeling when there's a dispute happening and it's like, let's just resolve this. We have to address it immediately or it festers for me.
Yeah,
And
and
I
that's a
think
real
go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say that's a really mature use of that harmony, right? Like that a mature harmony, when conflict is necessary, wants to go into it because they know it's actually harmonious through the storm, right? I've given the bison cattle example before. I'll just remind everybody, if a storm, remember I'm in Nebraska, if a storm is coming, the cattle try to outrun it. I think of the storm as the conflict, and the cattle are a raw harmony that tend to be a people pleaser. They're like, gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. But then the storm is really on their back and they can feel the weight and pressure of that. The harmony does not like that. But if we are just running from it because we don't want the conflict, we'll keep it there. We'll be comfortable in the uncomfortableness. But bison intuitively know that to get through a storm faster, we've got to go straight into it. This is mature harmony. This is what you're describing because, okay, I don't want to be in a storm, but it's here. The conflict is here. I'm just going to go straight into it so I can get through it and actually be harmonious on the other side. It's faster to do it that way. And I wonder if competition helps you mature harmony faster. I think those are two really interesting strengths to have so far up on your list, right? Because that competition pushes to win it's an influencing theme. And that harmony is like, hey, I want us all rowing in the same direction and I don't want to be in conflict. So I'd be curious, over your life, how have you seen those two kind of work hand in hand, or have they gotten in the way of each other?
I don't. I actually think my harmony helps my competition and it keeps my competition at bay, because sometimes with competition, I can become totally unhinged and let my competition kind of put my relationship building to the side if I'm not careful. And so I think harmony helps me not do that.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I do see with my harmony where my competition and harmony butt heads a little bit is, earlier I said my competition helps me have self-assurance and confidence. Well, my harmony sometimes makes me seek validation for my ideas, where then I just totally have imposter syndrome. I need that validation. So that's where we can kind of run into some issues where they're a little different.
Wow. Yeah. I want to I want to go towards a different area on yours. All right. I want to jump down towards the bottom here. And I want to talk about belief, because I don't coach a lot of people with belief. I'm not always, it doesn't crop up a lot in my coaching circle. So, but I'm always fascinated when it does crop up and I can talk to them about belief. And you're talking about, I'm driven to make this happen. My responsibility says I'm going to do this. I made an unbelievable slide deck that got the job to push it to this next level. How does belief fuel that competition? How does the belief, the blue in that, fuel that and get that moving for you? Or what does belief look like for you?
This is a tough one for me. I think out of all of my top 10, this one took me the
Good.
longest to
I gave
kind
you,
of
I picked
claim.
on the one you
Yeah,
don't.
she's like,
Okay.
thanks.
That's
Perfect.
okay,
Thank
because
you
I
for
think
that.
I have it down now, but it took me a while, because for me it's not like I have strong religious beliefs. It's not, sometimes the things that you traditionally would see right off the bat. For me, I think it's just I have certain standards for myself and how I like to operate. I think I value self-awareness. I value a growth mindset. I try to be a certain type of person. I think it does fit into my competition because, and you'll see with my discipline, my consistency, some of my other themes, I am very structured. I will persevere, right? And so I think my competition helps me do that too.
Yeah, and I'm curious. So a lot of times when I explain belief to people, what I'll say is they have this sort of inner knowing that they operate on, right? And usually the easiest way, because it can be hard for a lot of people. I find a lot of people with belief, it is the one that they have to do a lot of inner searching on because it's not as black and white or as clear to them. It might be really black and white, but they haven't thought about it. And so, if you think about, you've got this inner knowing that's stretching, and this is how you operate. This is the value system that you believe in so strongly that it is black and white. This is the way it is, and this is the way it's not. Usually, the easiest way to identify it is when like someone hits it, right? When someone comes up and they push the bar, they push the limit. So you're talking about, yours, you have this self-awareness, this growth mindset, you're this type A perfectionist with structure. When has somebody pushed that you felt the belief kind of like ding?
Yeah, so many times, and I hate to throw my husband under the bus, but we'll
Oh,
go there.
throw him. Speaking from the only male on today's, go ahead, Judge.
It
I'll
makes for
take it for
great
you. It's
podcast
so
banter.
good.
Go for it.
It's so good. What does he do wrong? Tell me
Well,
now.
I am just, and this, I think you're going to hear a lot of my discipline in this too, but like, we're working on our primary bathroom right now. My husband's an electrician. And so he was tasked with moving some switches and some outlets in our bathroom. And his preference is to not have me in the room because I like things done a certain way. And even though he does this for a living, I'm the first one to look and say, is the outlet straight? Is, like we're checking these things. And he is so different from me, which is funny because we have 4 out of the 5 of our top 5 are the same. And we are so different. So we butt heads a little bit. I'm very precise. I have these high standards for myself. He is more go with the flow. And it's just that sometimes we can easily find disagreements in that space. And so, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it happens all the time.
So let me see if I'm getting this right. So like with the bathroom and the outlet, he puts it in and you're like, I don't think it's straight. And he's like, nah, girl, it's good. Like I do this for a living. It's fine. You're like bringing in the little,
the level.
level.
Yeah.
And you're like, no,
I
see,
do.
look it just a touch to the left. And he's like, no one's going to notice that. And you're like, no, it needs to be. I really care that it is exactly perfect. Is this the sort of...
That is 100%. I have a mini level and I bring it with me. Like every time I go in to like check his little work. So
that's right.
It's ridiculous.
Well, I want to touch on 4 of the 5 are the same and how you navigate that. Not generally when we're coaching, we see people that share the same themes tend to actually get together. And you're married, so clearly there was some bonding there. But for a long time, particularly years ago when I was much younger, I didn't want another woo in the room. Right. I wanted to be the woo. And when you spotted a woo, it was like, nope, your woo isn't right. That isn't the right way to do woo. This is how you do woo. And suddenly it's a game and it's elevating and it's going. And so quite often the same themes can trigger as much little, hey, I don't like that, as much as, ooh, you and I communicate in the same way. Let's build on that. It does sometimes lend towards the mature, immature discussion. But I am curious, which of do you share with your husband that you think, oh, maybe the competition side is stabbing each other, or which one do you get along with the best? I'm curious.
Well, competition is actually fun for us. It's number 1 for me, number 2 for him. And we are both former college athletes. And so I think it's just kind of in our nature. We have fun with that one. I don't see it as a problem. I played Division I college golf. He was a hockey player, so he's also great at golf. So we have the best time going out golfing together and feeding that competition. It's just fun for us. Our difference is that I have consistency, which gives me that structure, and he has adaptability in his top 5.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where our real difference comes. Otherwise, my 3 relationship building, they're the same. And so I think, honestly, I think that it makes sense for why we have a strong relationship using those things with harmony, relate, or individualization. I mean, we just have the ability to really know and understand each other, and it works.
Yeah, you almost just proved the point for me where we coach around that a lot, where the one place you feel the stickiness is the one that you do not share. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You don't suddenly that's where the two of you are like, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to stay I've got we're changing this. We're going here. We're making that. And, but the other ones were, golf and competition. What's your handicap, by the way? Just, I got to ask.
Oh, I don't know what it is now. It's probably closer to a 7, but in my heyday, it was closer to a 2 or 3. So
now I hate you. I was a 6 in high school, but now I've been fighting to get back into single digits. And now I just looked, it's a 12. So, I'm struggling on that end, but I love that you're a competitive golfer. I love playing golf, particularly with people I don't know, and then we learn and get to learn from each other. So kudos to you. Do you get to play a lot?
I try, not as much as I'd like to. Life tends to get in the way, but we try to go out, a few times each month during the summer.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. What are these numbers? Do you want a low or high handicap?
Low.
So, well,
low score.
To be honest, I'm also part of a men's league that we play against each other. And the higher the handicap, the better chance you stand because it gives you more bonus strokes, right? So there are
Bill,
people
those are called
that
sandbaggers.
is correct. Those are I was going to say there are people that will balloon it, let it creep up. I'm actually always trying to get it as low as I can because I don't it doesn't matter to me how many I give or not. To me and I don't have competition. It's low for me. But I will say that I if I am competitive, it's with myself. I want to push to go to that lower number. I want to be proud of that rather than I won a trophy by posting bogus high score rounds for quite a while. And so yeah.
Okay, I'm going to bring us back to what we're
No,
talking about,
no, we're
golfers over
we
here. I mean,
so
I hate to interrupt your golf conversation, but I actually don't hate. I have a
so
question for the guests.
so listeners, welcome to Nine Holes with Alex Phillips, the new podcast. And no, go.
Alex, what I'm curious about, okay, in this role, you talked about you're doing strengths with interns. Tell us more about why you all are investing in the interns and their strengths. What does that look like? What does it get you?
So much is the answer because we utilize our internship program as our pipeline to young talent. So when we hire interns, we hire them because we see potential for a good long-term employee owner, a good future full-time employee. And so we want to spend as much time as possible on the front end developing these people. But I think there's so much importance in helping these young people understand their strengths from the start so they have the ability to do what they do best when they're entering the workforce and they're confident about their decision, whether it's their major or the role they're doing, and they can figure out how to utilize and leverage those strengths to be more efficient and productive and avoid that burnout. And so it's super important. I mean, we really highlight Clifton strengths within our program when we're recruiting because it's a huge part of the development that we provide our interns.
Now,
Yeah.
do you play golf with your? No, I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding. So, your futuristic is what just came up for me. Thinking about the interns, looking at their future, thinking about yours, and I heard a little of that early on when you started here, and you thought, I want to go here, and I want to set the tone to do that. Futuristic drive you quite a bit?
Yes, I use my futuristic almost every single day. If you look at my report, almost every single green theme is at the bottom. And for a long, long time, I really struggled with this. It almost hurt my feelings. I felt like I was never the smartest person in the room. Like I have learner, intellection, ideation, all of these are dead last. And so it took me a long time to realize that I am thinking strategically every single day through my futuristic, whether it's work or my personal life. I have to always be planning for something or thinking about ways we can do things better. So for the internship program, I'm already thinking like light years ahead on things that we can do to build up this program. And for my personal life, I will plan a vacation while I'm on vacation. Like I have to constantly be doing something, for myself tomorrow. And when I made my job switch, it's like, what decision can I make today that will have the most positive impact on me in the future, 5 years from now, when I retire? Where do I want to be? So yeah, that's how I think about things. That's how I'm thinking strategically.
Yeah, I love that we share that. I joke often with clients, if you turn to page 2021 on my report, you need a microscope to spot futuristic on the bar, right? It's way at the end, super small. Like you, I have one in the top 10, and it's learner for me. And I have to rely on other people to handle my strategy so often. But my learner comes in so handy, like you're talking about, and when you're looking at your futuristic, and that it comes in so handy because, like running this podcast or doing this, I had to learn how to do this. And if I don't, if I have to just rely on people skills, that's great. I can do it. But if I can amp up my learner, which is in that top 10, and for you, ramp up the futuristic to become strategic, That's how I get that part of it done. I had to learn so much about what the software we use and how do we do the audit, what do we do, and Sarah was very clear from the very front. I refuse to do any of it. I will do nothing when we do
No
this,
lies are told. No
you
lies
know,
are told.
and so I love hearing that from you. I love hearing that we share that green is very low, but man, we still do it, right? We still
Right.
like I have to strategize which guests I'm going to have on and how do I do that? And that's where the people skills come back in. And I hear that from you too. Hey, the interns, I thought about your future. Here's where we're going. But hey, as a high individualization, as a harmony, as a relator, I can now disseminate that information. I can talk to you one-on-one. I can talk to you as a group. I have that skill to make the people connection that the futuristic has set for us. I think that's really a good way to step in. Really nice.
And one of the things I'm wondering, Alex, tell me if this is true. Your futuristic is obviously setting the present by what could happen, and we can hear that in your voice. I feel like, though, you're able to anchor your futuristic to make it stronger because you have consistency, responsibility, discipline, right? You've got these executing themes that I feel like can like keep futuristic tethered to like reality and what is actually possible and creating a plan to get there. Where sometimes people with futuristic, it's a little bit more dreamy or daydreamy, like they're planning for it, but there's not actually a action plan to get there. They just know where they want to go. And they can still sometimes get there, but I just have to think it's like, I imagine it, like the movie Up, the Pixar movie, where it's like all the balloons on the house. Like your futuristic is all the balloons and gonna take this house away, but all of these executing themes are the house that kind of get it like anchor it a little bit to the ground.
That is the perfect way to describe it because you're right. I don't use it in like a theoretical sense. I don't use it to daydream. It is very much, how do I make a strategic and smart decision now to get me where I want to be? And whether I'm doing that at work or through my personal life, I mean, I look at it more as what small steps can I take? It's not such a big leap for me to where it feels impossible to achieve those things, if that makes sense.
Does it make you good at creating habits? Because I think about the way we get things done is through our daily habits, creating little small changes, right? That make a big impact in the long run. I could see these themes helping you be a great sort of habit master. Is that true or not true?
I think it's true because if I have a long-term goal with my executing themes, especially discipline, I think that I can form those daily habits to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
And then through my competition, failure's not an option, right? And so I think that's why it's a little bit more realistic for me.
I can I ask you kind of an odd question? We haven't done this on the show. Do you read a lot, Alex? Are you a avid reader or listener on books?
But it's like fantasy fiction.
Yeah, girl, it is.
So that was the question, right? I was going to ask you, when you read, is it you want to get out of your head and want to go to other places and do, because I read fiction. I'm a big fiction reader, and I do it because I don't want to keep building and learning, because I've done that all day. I just want to do something else. And my wife frequently tells me it's a waste of time because she is listening or reading more coaching things or and she's sending me links to a podcast to learn something. And she's, I'm reading a book now, and she's gone. She's actually taken one of our grandchildren to Florida on a fishing trip, and an Amazon package arrived addressed to me. And it's one of the books I'm listening to on audio. She bought it and it's here. So she's always trying to spur me to, why do you waste your time reading fiction? She won't do it. And for me, it's to get out of that. And I was just curious, with your low strategy, that was where I was going with that, because her strategy is high. So I have to give her that blush of, hey, I'm strategizing every moment to be better, to get better, to do more. And I find the release just as important, but I have to honor the people that are like, I have a mentor of mine who will not listen to music in the car. He's always listening to a podcast or something that will make him better at something he does. And I admire that. I just don't do it. And I was curious where you're at with that. And so you tend to read a lot of fiction.
I do. I like fantasy fiction when I read, or like murder mystery whodunits. I sprinkle those in sometimes, but I never thought about it that way. I think you might be right. I use it as mainly it's to reduce my screen time kind of, but also it is kind of a break from reality. I do spend a lot of time thinking through my futuristic. And when I am trying to learn new things or absorb content, especially like strikes related stuff, I do lean toward podcasts. So it's interesting that I would rather hear that than sit down and read it. This is kind of how I know that my learner is a lesser fiend, because the idea of having to sit down and read a book where I learned something sounds kind of awful.
Yeah, I love this hypothesis, this idea that, and I'm just going to extrapolate from what you said, Bill. It would be interesting to see if people who have more relationship building and influencing themes, if they liked more fiction based, because you're going to get more personal relationships. You're still learning, there's like, you're still picking up things, because obviously the way we have relationships is that. And like podcasting, listening to people talk about things, right? You're getting the human element, where like, do the strategic thinking and executing themes really like that nonfiction take and like to learn and be strategic?
Yeah.
And just as a side note, I can totally see with Alex's themes, especially that futuristic, loving the fantasy and the murder mystery whodunit, because your futuristic gets to like flex its muscle, like, ooh, what's happening here, right? Like you get to kind of play with like guessing what's going to be happening. So it's a really fun hypothesis to think about and explore.
You paraphrased it really well for me. I was just coming up with it, actually, Alex, while you were talking, because Renee and I, we joked about why I read fiction, but I've never put it together on the high-low. When you said all my green is so low, I thought, that might be an interesting data point regarding, and you paraphrased it really well. That was the leap I was making, is it a strategy versus relationship towards what you want to read? And I'm sure there are all sorts of people that would argue the point and say, I'm a relationship person and I learn all the time. That's all I'll do. But it is a good point. And Alex, I love that you read fiction. I bond with you. I love, I don't read fantasy fiction per se. I tend to read more, I guess, just mainstreamy fiction. But I get that. I bond with it. Plus your golf game is so good that, I'm just jealous and I'm in.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's a Taylor Swift song called I Hate It Here, and I'm pretty sure that song is all about reading fiction books to disappear from your real life world. So I resonate with that song a lot sometimes.
Wow. There, ladies and gentlemen, today's Taylor Swift call out, sponsored by Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Sponsored by the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, Alex, we've talked about a lot of the things you do well. We've dove into a lot of your strengths. Tell us about your dumpster fire. When does a strength or a combo of your strengths get you into trouble? What does it look like?
There's so many. I could probably go through each theme and give you an example of every time it's happened. I mentioned earlier with my competition, I have to be careful. It can easily become so unhinged if I let it. That's something that I have to purposefully, consciously try to refine. There are times where, it's probably because I care about it, but particularly if I'm playing golf in some competitive atmosphere, like game on, we're not friends. I'm not here to be your friend. And so sometimes it can get me in trouble. I think with my harmony, I already mentioned this, but that need for validation, sometimes I struggle with that because I want to feel more confident and trust my own intuition in my decisions. And sometimes I fail to do that. The biggest one for me probably is my relator, because it's like word vomit. I cannot shut up. If I'm in a conversation with someone and they're sharing a personal experience, I have to immediately chime in and be like, oh my gosh, you read fantasy? I'm reading this too. Let me tell you all about this and why you should read it. And I don't realize until after the fact that I just interrupted this person. They didn't get to finish what they were talking about. They don't care about my stupid fantasy books. And so that gets me in trouble a lot. And I have to be conscious of that and try and rein it in.
I so curious on this because often, whether myth or how we coach about it, relator tends to be about depth of friendship, right? About having a really, I prefer tighter bonds than the one off. But that quick interruption of a person that just, hey, we're just having a quick discussion almost doesn't feel relatorish to me. I love that you're making that bond. Can you dive into that a bit more for me really quick? Why that's relator for you?
Because I I tend to overshare because I want you to understand my perspective. I mean, that connection to someone is comfort for me. And so if I can bond with you or connect with you over reading a certain type of book, I want you to know that I read that book too. So we have something in common. It's creating that connection
Got it.
and building that relationship. I mean, when you read the definition of relator, it's like, I want to know everything about you and I want you to know everything about me. Well, to me, it really means everything. Like, I want you to understand every single piece, and sometimes it leads to oversharing.
Got it.
Yeah. And I wonder
So
if there's a touch of that individualization playing into the relator, right?
yeah,
Like this hooking on to these unique things about people and
right.
connecting them back to you.
Yeah. And I was going to give you full credit for understanding that you're feeding your relator by doing what you're doing. I'm going to get to that deeper relationship. We're going to bond
Yeah.
because you're going to know everything about me and it's going to happen. Or you're going to think, why did we just spend 10 minutes talking about your fantasy book? And why did you barge into my discussion? And now we're not relating. I'm out. We're done. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you very much for a very precise and very honest, but I think workable idea on how that tends to come into relator for you. That's really good.
Cool. Okay, Alex, I have a fun question for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Which of your top strengths do you think would win a game of tug of war and why?
The initial, most obvious answer is competition because that girl does not lose. But I think for me, the real answer is individualization because this to me, it feels like my superpower, honestly. And I feel like so much of how I operate, how I get to know people, how I develop people comes through my individualization. It's what I like to use, what I like to do. And so I'm very good at seeing people for who they are. It doesn't take me long to feel like I understand the ins and outs of someone. And I think there's so much power and value in that, whether you're using it to lead people, to collaborate with people, to coach and develop people. Um, that's probably my favorite, and I think it would win.
I love that. And what a great use of individualization and really being able to trust it because there's a lot of intuition that comes, but you have to be able to invest in individualization to use right, that intuition. It's something that takes a little bit of time. And so, yeah, telling that competition, girl, I know you want it. You're going to be trying hard, but you're not going to win out over this individualization.
Not. And as individualization is number one for me, I resonate with everything you say about it. I gotta know. I gotta slice it and dice it and know all of the little parts. So for me, if you interrupted me to tell me your fantasy book, I'm all in because I get to know all these little things about you and then bring them up at a later time. The individualization side feels like that, and I love that you can win tug of war with it. Right? I've never thought about tug of war with my individualization. I just know it's there, right? And then see how I operate with it and where I stand into it. So love that. I love that it touches you in that way and that it hits that. But I also think I'm hearing a bit of discipline in your tug of war game, right? I'm going to individualize the person. My competition doesn't lose, but I will keep tugging on this until you are pulled over that line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
And
so
I
true.
think this was like the perfect question for you because you do have some strengths that are in like a tug of war, like your competition and your harmony. You have some really interesting combos here. that you get to flex, and that makes you great, and that's why you're so talented. But it's also those things that we have to have awareness of to keep them in check and know when to flex which one, and when to, you know, as Bill likes to say, when do you put which one in the driver's seat, when do you stuff one into the trunk, and being able to reshuffle their position in the car to make sure you can be at your best.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So very good. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on today. We have enjoyed it. I find high individualization. You and I are going to bond over that for a long time. Our inability to have strategy anywhere outside of the very bottom of the group. And the beauty of this is that now Alex and I are starting a podcast called the 9-Iron Chip Shot. And please tune into your favorite places so that we can talk about how her golf game is so much better than mine and how we keep moving through.
Yeah, how'd I get smashed between two golfers? When she said that, I should have known Bill was just going to run with it. He's always trying to leave the podcast studio to go golf. He's like, well, I gotta go.
The good news is it's freezing cold and raining today. So that, I'm here.
Right. So we've got his full attention today.
I got stuff going on. Sorry. You got me. So
Alex, if people want to connect with you online, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can reach me through my LinkedIn. I'm on there all the time. So that's probably the best way. Otherwise, you can send me an email. I know I'll share my information with you guys, and you guys are welcome to contact me. So I would love to hear from people.
Yeah, it'll be on our website for those of you listening wanting to be able to check and click it and reach out to Alex and pick her brain, or maybe talk to her about what she does for a living and how you may want to work with Alex, because I know I'm all in.
I know. Right? A company that's strengths-based and focused and just doing more and more to invest in it, that's a good company. And Alex, I just adore you, and we have work coming up together that we get to do, and I get to come and help with the Commonwealth Electric family on some projects this year. And so I am so excited. And it's just every time we work together, I am like a proud mama. I'm like, oh my gosh, look how far we've come. Anytime you do career coaching with people. And I just have to say, the way you light up now, when we first started coaching, when people are not feeling totally fulfilled, they're not utilizing their talents in their career, it dulls them. We all know people like this. We've been people like this. There is a dullness to us. And when we find that thing that allows us to use our talents, because we spend the majority of our time in our lives at work, when we are able to use our talents in our jobs, it brings a light and energy to us that we need. We need the people of the world to have that light and energy. And every single person listening to this podcast has talent and has light and energy that the world needs. So it is your responsibility to figure out what your talents are and how you can start using them. Everyone needs you to do that. And Alex, you have done it, and I just love to see it. And I'm just so proud of you and so grateful that you still want to work with me. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for saying that. It is so true that none of this would have happened for me without you. You were totally the spark that ignited all of this for me. And so I am forever grateful for you, and I could not have found a better mentor for myself. So I appreciate you so much.
Wow.
I love this. Would you like to say how much you love me, Bill?
Well, I was going to say we got over 50 minutes in before we got Sarah's soapbox moment. And
there you go.
But it was a good soapbox there it went. And
there it was.
Sarah, I love you so much. And I love that you were my mentor. You've helped me with no, not true. But just the fact we get to do this together. Alex, I hope you get to see how much both of us really enjoy it and enjoyed having you on with us today. It's a true gift that we get to do this and share it with the world and have some people that reach out and respond to it. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it very much. It was an honor to be here.
Yeah, an absolute honor to have you. So we'll sign off for today. We'll let Alex get back to her 1,500 people. You got a lot of assessments to get through. Get moving on that. So, but we'll move on, get you that time back, and we will talk to our arsonists on the next episode. Alex, you're an arsonist, right?
I'm an arsonist.
She's an arsonist.
She's an arsonist.
We will talk to our arsonists on the next episode. Thanks for listening, and we will talk soon.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Strengths on Fire. If today's conversation sparked something in you, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. We're here bringing you fresh insights to fuel your growth and ignite your potential. Remember, your strengths are powerful, so let's keep the fire burning.
And if you're looking to transform your organization through strengths-based strategies and coaching, reach out to Sarah Collins, founder of Collins Collective, or Bill Dippel, founder of Bill Dippel Strengths Coaching. Connect with Sarah at wearecollinsco.com, follow her on Instagram at sarahcoachcollins, or email her at sarah@wearecollinsco.com, SARAH. You can reach Bill at billdippel.com, Bill, DIPPEL.com, or on Instagram at Bill Dippel Coach, or email him at bill@billdippel.com.
Please note the opinions, views, and interpretations of Clifton Strengths expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and the guests. They have not been approved, sanctioned, or endorsed by Gallup in any way.
Until next time, keep your strengths on fire and let's light up what's possible together. Bye, Bill.
Bye, Sarah.